Welcome back to Homeopathy at Home with Melissa. Hi, Melissa.
Hi, Bree. I'm excited to talk about Alzheimer's and dementia because it's very prevalent in my family. A lot of my family members end up with Alzheimer's and or dementia. What
Yeah.
is Alzheimer's and dementia?
So, according to, I want to give credit to this website because I am pulling from another website. It's alz.org. It specifically explains this very well. So, I'm going to read straight from their little graphic. It's a picture of an umbrella for the term dementia. So, the term dementia is an umbrella term for loss of memory and overthinking abilities severe enough to interfere with daily life. Under that umbrella are diseases like Alzheimer's. They also list other ones that are less, I guess, less frequent, called vascular, frontotemporal, and mixed dementias. So obviously, the most common one that we know is Alzheimer's. So I can look specifically what Alzheimer's would be, and that one is specifically degeneration of the brain.
Yeah.
So the brain cells themselves are actually deteriorating and dying.
Mhm. And it also says here, dementia is not a normal part of aging. So it's caused by damage to brain cells that affects their ability to communicate, which can affect thinking, behavior, and feeling. So if anybody is thinking, everybody gets dementia, like dementia is just a weak memory, that everybody gets when they get older. No, it's not
Okay.
normal, right? It's common, but it's not normal.
Yeah. And unfortunately, there is no cure at this point, according to allopathic medicine and Western medicine.
Right.
So this is a really great area to use homeopathy
Yeah.
to support
Oh,
all of
yeah.
those symptoms.
So I have used it with my dad so far. So the other members of our family that had severe Alzheimer's or dementia didn't. It was too long ago. I didn't know enough about homeopathy, or I didn't know it at all back then. And so my dad, I am using it with him now, and well, I'm not. His wife is giving it to him, but I've given her, told her what to give him, and she sees a great deal of improvement. And when she ran out of remedies one time last year or 2 years ago or something, she noticed a huge decline. And so she was like, I can't run out again. So it's not, um, I don't know that homeopathy can reverse it
I was just
this
going to ask
far.
that.
This far in. So my dad's been, I didn't recognize the symptoms. He started showing symptoms years ago, and I didn't know that crying was a symptom. So he would, every time we said goodbye, like we would either on the phone or we were together, he would cry. And I was like, I had no idea.
And your
And
dad has Alzheimer's specifically or dementia?
I'm pretty sure he's been diagnosed with Alzheimer's. Yeah.
Okay.
So, what are the symptoms of, or does that thing list symptoms of dementia versus
Yeah.
symptoms of Alzheimer's? What are they?
I have Alzheimer's specifically. Starts with memory loss that disrupts daily life. So don't freak out if you have some memory loss. We're talking like life disruptive memory loss and something that stays. It's not like post viral fatigue or
Mhm.
after pregnancy. I know sometimes I forget things. So we're talking like deeper than that. It can include poor judgment leading to bad decisions, loss of things like spontaneity or initiative, like motivation, losing track of dates, knowing the location that you're in, phone numbers, maybe taking longer to complete normal daily tasks that used to be easy, repeated questions or forgetting things that somebody just told them, and things of that nature. So that's specifically Alzheimer's.
Okay.
Um, I think the dementia term it's marked by symptoms of, or those symptoms that gradually get worse Alzheimer's first affects the part of the brain that is associated with learning. So I think some of the symptoms will overlap. What sets Alzheimer's apart is that can be diagnosed based on brain deterioration. So I'm assuming that takes a scan,
Yeah.
of some sort to track
Because
that.
there's amyloid plaques that they can see.
Yeah, okay. I'll keep looking up some more things to share. And we have a lot of good information here. I saw you mention miasm, which is
Yeah.
exciting. That's something that was in your notes. So
Oh.
we got a lot of good information to cover today.
All right, so let me jump into remedies. So first I would like to just, there is a Banerji protocol for, I wonder if these protocols are dementia or Alzheimer's, or if it matters. You gonna check? Okay.
Well, and I do wonder if it matters because typically we operate on homeopathy is symptom based, but Banerji protocols are diagnosis based. Okay, so Alzheimer's has some of these, but it's a little bit different.
Okay, let's see.
Let me see what dementia says.
Page 47, Alzheimer's disease. Interesting. Okay.
So the ones on here are dementia. The ones in your notes are dementia. Alzheimer's has some overlap, but is a little bit different.
So interesting. Okay, well then we'll talk about both. So
right.
The Banerji protocols for dementia, first line is Anacardium Oriental 200 every 3 days and Helleborus Niger 30C in liquid twice per day. Those are not mixed together. So you do those for 8 to 16 weeks and then reassess the situation and then decide if it's helping or not. If there's no improvement, then you move on to the second line for dementia is Aramet 200 every 3 days and Califos 6X twice per day. Again, 8 to 16 weeks, no improvement, move to the third line. Third line dementia, hydrocyanic acid 30C in liquid twice per day and Aconitum napellus mother tincture 3 drops twice per day. Now, in the United States, we can't get Aconitum napellus mother tincture, and I don't suggest that you try. And I'm just, yeah, I can't suggest that anybody uses aconite mother tincture because it is so poisonous. So what I would do if I had to go to the third line is I would use aconite 3C and instead of the mother tincture. And so then the Banerji protocol for Alzheimer's disease, I'm taking this straight from the Banerji protocol book. And the first line is Helleborus 30C in liquid twice per day. That's it. The second line is Lachesis mutus 200C, 1 dose every other day, and Hyoscyamus 6C twice per day. And then the third line is hydrocyanic acid 30C in liquid, 1 dose 2 or 3 times a day. Okay, so those are Banerji protocols. If you don't know what the Banerji protocols are, come take our Gateway to Homeopathy 1 class. You can find that on my website under the courses tab. And so that's where you're going to learn Banerji protocols. Usually in these podcast episodes and then the other courses that I create myself, I don't do too many protocols. So for the rest of what we're going to talk about in this episode are not going to be protocols, but I'm going to help you differentiate between remedies. So let's say you go through first line, second line, third line protocols and you can't, you don't have any success, then you need to choose remedies. And so I'm going to help you differentiate so you can find that. So first of all, dementia can be part of the syphilitic miasm, and because the syphilitic miasm has a great loss of memory, especially names, faces, places, and dates. And so the more angry and frustrated a person is, as they're losing parts of their mind, the closer they get to what we call Alzheimer's disease. And then dementia is simply a collapse of the communication between one part of your brain and another. So there's lack of access. So the syphilitic miasm, the main theme there is lack. And so Alzheimer's is decidedly syphilitic. So it seeks to damage. The syphilitic miasm cannot bear the thought that they might be going down and nobody else is. So this person is like, if I'm going, you're going with me. They want to bring people down with them. They don't want to go by themselves. So let's talk about specific remedies. So Cimicifuga is, you would choose Cimicifuga if there is a fear of dementia. And this person can have depression with low spirits and exhaustion, gloom and dejection, as if there was a black cloud over everything. They have forebodings of death, insanity, and impending evil. She thinks she's going crazy. She might be he or she. It doesn't have to be she. We just use one of them, a pronoun. Nervous, fidgety, excitable, and jerky are some keynotes of the Cimicifuga dementia or Alzheimer's. Mania and hysteria, suspicious and oversensitive to pain. Hyoscyamus is suspicious dementia in elderly people. So they act as if they're intoxicated. They love to sing, recite poetry. They love to talk. They babble, and they can be very quarrelsome. They are inclined to laugh at everything, and they can have obscene gestures, and they can expose themselves. So they can do foolish things, behave like a mad person. They can have low speech, violent outbreaks of delirium with weakness. They can be very suspicious and jealous, restless. They can jump out of the bed and want to escape just all of a sudden. They might have hallucinations and delusions. They might have rage with a desire to strike, bite, fight, or kill. And they can have an entire loss of modesty. They can be, this is big for Alzheimer's disease, hyoscyamus, big for Alzheimer's. They can have a passive insanity, mental confusion. They might pick at the air or pick at the bedclothes, the sheets or the blankets or whatever. And they might be afraid to eat or drink because they're afraid that they might be poisoned. I saw that keynote in a lot of these remedies that we're going to talk about.
That the fear of being poisoned?
Yep.
Okay, can I ask insert a question?
Yeah.
Would you ever, okay, let's say you tried the first line protocol or whatever, pick a line, any of the lines, and you tried one and you saw very minimal improvement, but some. So you're not wanting to stop the protocol. Would you maybe add one of these with it? Or I want to ask that question because I do think it's hard. People lose patience when they're not seeing big improvements.
Mm-hmm.
And so they're thinking, if I add another remedy, it's going to go faster.
Yeah.
Would there be a case where you'd ever recommend that if they repertorize and find a good remedy that's not in that protocol? Or would you say stay the course? And I know this is your personal opinion. Without taking a case, you can't really answer this.
That's a good question. So if whatever you've chosen, the protocol or the remedy, is, if there is any improvement at all, even a little bit, you need to stick with it. But there could be times where you would add a remedy. But you have to be careful that you're not adding the remedy for the purpose of rushing homeopathy. You can't rush homeopathy. So don't try. So you need to think about, before you add a remedy, think about, why are you wanting to add a remedy? Is it because you're wanting to push this thing along and make it happen faster? Then that's not a good enough reason. If you want to add a remedy because, wow, you found this remedy and it fits so beautifully, it has, it just, you've got some movement with the protocol, but then there's this one remedy that just fits really beautifully, then I think it would be okay after 8 to 16 weeks, to add it in there.
Okay. And I think I was specifically thinking of, maybe there's this one or two characteristics that they've made improvement in some of these areas, but there's this one that hasn't budged, that maybe one of these other remedies covers, if that makes sense. Maybe these outbursts or something that have not improved at all, but their memory has gotten a lot better.
No, I wouldn't add a remedy. So I would wait,
Okay.
because that symptom could be coming next. We're peeling
That
an
is a
onion.
question I get often, is they've gotten so much better. There's just this one thing. Let's add a remedy for that one thing. So that is really helpful. Thank you.
Yeah, so we're peeling an onion. So that remedy's, or that symptom is buried in there somewhere, and it's going to come out too.
Okay.
Really good question. Okay. So Helleborus 30C in liquid twice per day can be useful when the person has slow perception. They're slow in answering. They have inattention, apathy, and constant thoughtless staring at one spot, alternating with unintelligible muttering. Gloomy, dismal, despair, irritable, worse for consolation. They do not want to be disturbed. They can have an aversion to company. They're better when they're alone. They can be indifferent to loved ones, indifference to pleasures, indifference to everything. So they can have fixed ideas, and they just sit and say nothing and do nothing. Things often might, that you might hear them say, or get an idea that things look new to them, new and different. And they can be sensitive to noise, have involuntary sighing, and they can pick at their lips and their clothes and the ends of their fingers. Sometimes their mind seems to have lost all control over their body. They can just sit in stubborn silence. They won't eat and they won't speak, and they never express a desire for anything, and they might have a fear of dying. And then lachesis, 200 every other day, and hyoscyamus 6C twice per day is a great protocol. Lachesis would be, so we already talked about hyoscyamus, so you would choose this if that fit. And then also lachesis, mental symptoms are worse after sleep. So when they wake up in the morning, they feel much worse, or they might even wake up in the middle of the night and feel, their mental symptoms are worse. They can have rapidly alternating states, mental confusion, weak memory, frequent mistakes are made in their writing and speaking. They can be very imaginative, nervous, and excitable, very restless, with great loquacity. They can be jealous, have a great deal of mistrust, haughtiness, ridiculous ideas. They can have frequent, so they can jump between subjects. So they jump from one subject to another, and then they get sad. They can repeat things over and over again. One word often leads into another story. They can be irritable, mischievous, quarrelsome, complains of every trifle, hateful, violent, angry, depressed, great depression, manic depression, paranoid schizophrenia, fear of snakes, fear of being poisoned, and fear of going to sleep.
Right.
So hydrocyanic acid 30C in liquid 2 to 3 times a day would be useful when they have low concentration. They have a great deal of trouble with their concentration. Confusion that's better in open air. Speech that is incoherent. Inability to think. Anxious and anxious and fitful. They might ask no questions and return no answers. So if you're asking them questions, they're not going to answer you and they're not going to ask you any questions. They might have a fear of death and involuntary motions of the hands, loud involuntary screams, like they might just scream out suddenly and not know why. That's hydrocyanic acid. So Anacardium Oriental, 200 taken every 2 to 3 days. So this is just like, you might do it every other day, or you might just do it twice a week, is a great remedy for someone who believes that their husband or wife is not their husband or wife. So they can be very confused over their identity. There can be a physical and mental lack of power, brain fatigue, lack of confidence in himself or others, lack of self-esteem, absent-minded, senile dementia, poor memory, forgetfulness that makes her low-spirited. So I've seen that before where people are forgetful and that causes the depression or the sadness, because then they're afraid, here it comes, they're afraid of the future. They have anxiety about everything. And especially if they suddenly forget, which is common with this remedy, they suddenly forget names and the names of the people around her, like people that she should absolutely know their names. Forgets what she has seen. She has vanishing thoughts, deficiency of ideas, and loss of subject without knowing it. So this is a big one for Alzheimer's disease. And they can refuse to eat, again, for fear of being poisoned. They can be extremely irritable and contradictory, angry and depressed, easily offended, tendency to use foul, violent language, cursing, swearing, and a person who doesn't usually do that. And so they can be hard-hearted and cruel, unsociable, can have profound depression, manic depression, forsaken feeling. They might hear voices. They might have fixed ideas and delusions of various kinds, and there's no reality in anything, and everything appears as a dream.
Man, that's a good remedy.
Mhm.
There are so many. This is exciting. Like, just encouraging that there are so many. I bet for a lot of people, they had no idea.
Yeah.
There's
Yep.
such a wide range of options.
Yeah. There
I
really
do have a
is.
question for somebody who's dealing with, like you said, and I think you did say this, so I just want to clarify. Even if it's not caught early, it can still
Right.
manage symptoms and progress of the
Good,
disease.
good question. So what I've seen is if you don't catch it early, then it can slow the progression. So it's not going to reverse it. You're not going to get the old person back after years. But I would encourage you, especially if you have this in your family, to recognize the symptoms and start early, and you'll probably have a great deal more success when you
Mhm.
start earlier.
And so in the cases where it's slowing the progression, like with your dad, and it's working and helping, do you give it indefinitely? Give these
As long as
remedies?
it's helping. So
Okay.
if it stops helping, you need to change remedies or stop, altogether. So
Okay. I
the
know typically we
problem,
back off, like we stop using remedies often with chronic conditions.
if
With
they're
something
getting
like
better,
this, when it's progressed so much.
you're probably going to use it long term.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. It's
You broke up right there. Say that one more time.
and you can use it long term as long as it's still helping.
Okay.
I just realized I did not turn on my hotspot. I'm using my regular internet. Has it been okay this far?
That was the first time that you had any choppy sentences. I mean, that I could notice.
Okay, so let me know if I do, and I
Okay.
don't want to break this up right now and turn on my hotspot. So we'll just see how it goes.
Yeah, it's been good so far.
Great. Burrito carb is also a great remedy. And so this might be helpful when someone is fearful, timid, or shy. or have regressed to childish behavior. So this person tends to avoid strangers, maybe absent-minded, confused, forgetful, can't make decisions. It's burrito carb is hugely helpful with memory loss, loss of confidence, mental weakness, dementia, and chronic glandular disorders. Burrito carb has also been shown to delay the progress of aging, especially brain cells and arteries, and fights hypertrophy of the prostate or testes. So this person that needs this remedy could have difficult concentration, confusion, senile dementia, slow mental grasp, loss of memory. They try to recollect past events and they can't. Great for Alzheimer's disease, forgets her errand or word in her mouth, lost confidence in himself. They can be bashful, timid, cowardly, shy of strangers, aversion to strangers, dread of strangers. They can be mistrustful, hide behind the furniture and keep their hands over their face. So again, like a childish behavior. They can be silly and absurd. They can have anxiety about the future and domestic affairs, and they can be suspicious that people are talking about them.
Breaking up again right here. Can you hear me?
Yeah, let
Okay.
me just go and turn on my hotspot. So it might kick me out and I'll be back.
Okay.
Hey, am I back?
You're back.
All right, this should be better. Okay, so what did you hear? Or should I repeat that
It
whole
was
remedy?
right when you started Illumina, so I think just start right there again.
Okay, so Illumina. Illumina might be helpful for people who are depressed and afraid of losing their minds. The person needing Illumina will be easily disoriented and have trouble remembering their own identity or recognizing others. This is great for senile dementia, absent-mindedness, memory that's weak or loss of memory, forgets things and loses their way, Alzheimer's disease, makes mistakes in speaking and writing, inability to think coherently, alternating moods. They can be contrary, obstinate, hasty, hurried, low-spirited. They have a fear of loss of reason. They can be anxious, confused, and especially confusion as to their personal identity. So ambrogracia is particularly indicated for the person who has experienced many losses in their life. So you just think about, I don't know, I know people like that I just look at their history. I'm like, how have you gone through this much loss in your life? And so they might be forgetful, confused, shy, anxious, especially in company, and easily embarrassed, bashful. Music makes them weep, and they can blush easily. So lycopodium is great for people who are irritable, anxious, depressed, and worry about everything. They can be sentimental and cry when somebody thanks them. They also might have gas and bloating, just like the lycopodium symptoms, frequent urination, prostate problems. They might have weak memory, dyslexia, confusion in a warm room that's better for walking in open air, so they feel better when they get outside and their memory is better. They might be indecisive, have low loss of self-confidence, poor self-esteem, anxiety in the house, panic attacks, melancholy, and they might awake irritable and angry.
Do you want me to finish with Carbo Veg? I
Yes.
haven't done any of these. I should have offered to do this
I didn't
earlier.
even think. I didn't even think till let's
Um,
go back and forth.
No, I've been like absorbing all of this thing. We have some dementia in my family as well. So
Yeah.
I mean, as we all do,
People.
I'm just like placing
Yep.
this with people.
Yep.
Um, so our last remedy is carbo vegetabilis or carbo veg. And this remedy I would never have thought of for dementia or Alzheimer's. It's often indicated with sudden recurring memory loss and difficulty concentrating. This person experiences great apathy and may become rude and irritable, slow thinking, indifference to everything he hears or sees, sluggish, slow, lazy, anxiety in the morning, and oversensitive to noise.
So remember, carbo veg is the reviver.
I was just thinking that. And so maybe some of that demeanor. I mean, I know it's all kind of behavioral or mental symptoms, but that one specifically, the slow thinking and the sluggish, lazy feeling.
Yep.
So cool. Okay.
Very cool.
So many options.
That's dementia. Yeah. I hope that helps somebody because it's a really, really sad thing to watch somebody go through. Having watched, gosh, lots of grandparents and one of my most favorite uncles, and now my dad go through. It's very sad. It's a hard thing when you love
Awful.
somebody to watch them do that. So be ready, just like if you have stroke in your family, if that kind of runs in your family, be ready with stroke remedies, but be working on uprooting that miasm, right? So we're not continuing to pass that from generation to generation.
Yeah.
So if you're interested in miasms, we taught a 5.5-hour course on miasms, and you can go and buy that on the website.
We mean you taught a 5.5-hour class. It was amazing. It was amazing. You guys really should get it. It's so affordable for the content and such good information. Not a beginner course, we have said, but
Yeah,
still
right,
really
right.
great.
You need to know homeopathy basics because I don't do any basics in that course. So you need to already know what homeopathy is, how it works, and just basic things. So if you don't know the basics, again, Gateway to Homeopathy 1 is a great course to take. If you listen to this at some point in the future and I'm no longer teaching it, then I'll probably have some other basics course, that you can take. So Gateway 1 is a great course. So come and learn more if you need to. Look under my courses tab and see all the different ones that I offer. And I look forward to talking with you next time, Bree.
Thank you.